Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm super excited to share with all of you my bridal makeup look. So for context, I am getting married this year, actually quite soon. And so for a while, I've been debating about whether to do my own makeup or to have a makeup artist do it. And if you guys haven't already, you should check out my video where I first attempted bridal makeup following a Hung Van Gogh tutorial. That kind of led to mixed results. I think it looked good overall, but it was quite a bit more difficult than I anticipated. So today I'm going to be doing round 2 of bridal makeup. This is me kind of doing it my own style based on my favorite products and what I think I want my bridal makeup look to look like. So this is not going to be a classic bridal look. It's going to be a little bit more colorful, a little bit more sparkly. But basically I wanted to test out this look before the big day. And for context, I did end up deciding to go with a professional makeup artist. So my plan is basically to send her a picture of the makeup look that I come up with. I figure that'll just alleviate some of the stress of the big day. But I did want to first create it on myself so I can make sure that it looks the way I want it to look. Also, the dress I'm wearing right now is not my wedding dress, just to be clear, but the crown I'm wearing is my wedding crown, so I did want to put it on so I can see how the makeup looks with the headpiece. So without further ado, let's get into today's makeup look. So first up, I'm just gonna tie up my hair to get it out of my face, and also because I think I'll go in with an updo for my wedding look. So to start out, because I do want this makeup to last a long time, I'm going to go in with some primer. This is the Dr. Brandt Pores No More Luminizer Primer. And I can't say that this is necessarily my favorite primer. I honestly don't use primer that often, so this is just a primer that I've found to work quite well, but I haven't actually tried out a ton of primers. So I'm going to concentrate this on my T-zone because that's where I do find I get a little bit oily over the course of the day. For context, my skin is overall on the dry side, but especially my nose does tend to get a bit greasy as the day wears on. Next up for foundation, I'm going to go in with my Eldridge Seamless Skin Foundation. I have this in the shade 15, and this is my go-to event foundation. So I find that this just has a really beautiful, long-lasting finish on days when I want my skin to look really perfected. And so I'm starting out with one pump, but this product does pump out in pretty small portions. I would say one pump of the Eldridge is kind of like half a pump in a normal foundation bottle, and so I probably will need to go in with some more. But I'm going to first spread this out, concentrating it on the center of my face and working outwards. And then taking a sponge, I'm going to use that to just really press that into the skin. So now I'm going to go in with a second pump and put this a little bit more around the perimeter of my face. And also just one more pump to really provide some more coverage. And for context, usually on an everyday basis, I do like going in with a slightly more glowy foundation like the NARS or the Dior Forever Skin Glow. But definitely on days when I want my face to look really good in photos and to be really long lasting, I find the Eldridge is really unbeatable. It overall leaves a pretty satin finish, but it's not at all drying on my skin, unlike a lot of other long wear foundations. So hopefully, as you can see, that's just really nice, really perfected, not terribly glowy. Now for concealer, I'm going in with my Pat McGrath concealer in the shade LM10. This is my trusty concealer for any sort of day when I really want to have a decent amount of coverage. Just going to put that all over any of my problem areas and just use a sponge to carefully blend that in. So with the concealer down, I'm going to go in with brows, and I'm going to start off with this Gucci brow pencil in the shade 4. I actually picked this up fairly recently in the Sephora VIII sale, but it's quickly risen to become one of my all-time favorite brow products. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but of course, because this is my version of my bridal makeup look, I am basically using a lot of my overall favorite products. And so for the brows, I was debating between using this versus the Huda Beauty Balm Brows, which has been my favorite for a while. But I think overall, for a slightly more soft, romantic look, this brow pencil is really excellent. So as you can see, that went on really easily. So now I'm just going to use the spoolie end to blend that out. The Huda Beauty pencil, I would say, is better if I were doing more of a precise brow look, but I think this is good for a slightly more natural brow look. And now to set that in place, I'm going in with my Merit Beauty Brow Gel, and this has very quickly risen to be my favorite brow gel, especially on an everyday basis. But I find it just very, very foolproof. With a lot of my tinted brow gels, I feel like I need to be a little bit careful to make sure that doesn't get all over the place. But this goes on so easily and just provides some nice volume and tint to my brows. And then just going back in with the pencil in some of these sparse areas. So now before setting the face, I want to go in with some more cream products, since one thing I learned in the Hung Van Gogh video, which I've since really enjoyed doing myself, is to first put a layer of cream cheek products down and then later set that and then go in with some powder versions of the same products on top. So I'm going to first go in with this M Cosmetics So Soft Contour Stick in the shade Terra. I really like this because it's a very cool toned contour. And so I'm going to grab my Zoeva 110 brush and just lightly dab it on the tip of that and use this to just create some contour and shadow around my face. Later on, I'll go in with powder bronzer on top of this. But I feel like it's nice for giving a bit more of a multi-dimensional look if you first go in with a cream layer. And I really like how this contour stick is very cool toned. I find that a lot of sticks are a bit more like bronzers in that they have a much stronger orange undertone to them. So if you're looking for something that will really look more like a shadow, then I find that this product is a really good way to go. That said, if you do want something that's more bronzy, I think they do have a shade Summer that's more appropriate as a bronzing stick. I'm going to take that along the jawline as well. And recently I saw a Hung Van Gogh video where he did Michelle Phan's makeup, and he used a lot of M Cosmetics products for that, understandably. And he put a ton of this contour stick on her face. It was honestly kind of intimidating to see because he just like put it directly on the face, which this product is quite pigmented, which is why I'm just lightly tapping my brush on it. But it did make me think that I guess you can use much more of this than you might think if you just very carefully blend it out. But for me, I'm gonna try to do it lightly in sheer layers because I do plan on going in with some powder bronzer later on. Next up, for some cream blush, I'm going in with this Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light Wand in the shade Pinkgasm. This is a recent favorite of mine. So you just squeeze some of this product out. And I just cleaned off this brush a bit, and I'm going to use it to dab on some of this. I'm also going to go in with powder blush later, but I like the idea of this just providing some glow from within and some healthy vibrancy. So I'm going to just stipple this onto the face. As you can see, it has that beautiful shine, and especially a sheer layer of this is going to provide a little bit more shine than pigment. But I'm hoping this will give me that really nice, healthy looking flush from within. And similar to the contour stick, I like applying this with a brush, tapping it directly onto the stick instead of swiping it. I find this just leads to a little bit more control and a little bit more of an even application of the product. And also I just realized I forgot to put contour on the nose, so let me go back into Terra. And with my Sonia G Lotus Base Brush, I'm going to lightly tap a little bit of that onto my nose area. Just do a little bit of contouring there as well. I'm not trying to change my nose shape, but because we're going higher coverage today, I want to make sure my face doesn't look totally flat. And then for a little bit of highlight, I'm going in with my Hollywood Flawless Filter, and I'm going to put a little bit of that along the bridge of my nose. And I think we have enough shine from the Beauty Light wand, so I'm just going to put a little bit of this on my Cupid's bow, tiny bit on my chin, and just a little bit of it also on the forehead area, just for a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going back in with that Zoeva 110 just to lightly dab all of that in. And just to reinforce that too, I'm going in with my sponge just to dab a little bit more, just to make sure everything is well blended. Now for powder, I'm going to try this Saie powder because I've been really loving this translucent setting powder lately, and I haven't actually tried it with my Lisa Eldridge. So let's see how this goes. So I'm going to go in with my New Year's brush from Beautylish and just take a little bit of this powder. Oops, that was too much. Let me tap that off. And then I'm going to lightly just dab this all over my face. What I like about this powder is it does have a little bit of reflectivity in it, so it's not a totally flat powder. And then also it is not too drying on my dry skin, so I find I don't have to be too careful with it, which I really appreciate. And now with the smaller Llano Series Brush 5 from Beautylish, I'm going to take some of this for the under eye area to set that. I'm going to use this just for more precision setting. Now I'm going to go in with some eye primer. This is my ABH Eye Primer, which has been my recent favorite. I've really loved this because it makes blending eyeshadow on top so easy. It's not one of those primers that has a ton of stick to it, so you won't find that your mattes are really struggling to blend out. The only caveat with this primer is if you have a deeper skin tone than me, this might show up a little bit too white on you unless you're trying to have a really white base for, say, like a pastel eyeshadow look. But if you have my skin tone or any fairer, I think this should work pretty well. So now for my favorite part of any makeup look, the eyeshadow. And so since this is a bridal look with all of my favorites, we have to go into my Pat McGrath collection. And in particular, Huetopian Dream and Divine Rose 2 are some of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. So let's start off by going into Huetopian Dream. So here we have the beautiful Mothership 9 Huetopian Dream, and I'm going to start by going into this lighter mauvey matte shade, and using a Wayne Goss number 16 brush, I'm going to use this as my transition shade. And for context, my wedding dress is mostly ivory but does have some mauve elements to it, and so that's why I want to incorporate pinky mauvey hues in my eyeshadow look. As a side note, while I was putting on all of this makeup, I did notice that my skin is peeling a little bit today, so in case you've noticed that too, I did have a facial recently, and so I did have a chemical peel as part of that, and so I think that's where it's from. I don't think it's the makeup itself peeling. But I did want to mention that because I will say my skin is not looking as nice as I would hope. But this is also partially why I decided to go with a professional makeup artist for the big day, because in the event there's something going on with my skin that's unexpected, I do hope that her professional knowledge will come in handy in terms of how to deal with that. I am definitely an amateur when it comes to makeup, even though I really enjoy doing makeup on myself. So there we go. That is the initial transition shade. I love this shade so much. It's so, so pretty on the lids. Next, I'm going in with my Wayne Goss number 19 into the deeper matte shade. I'm going to use this to define the outer portion of the eye and also just to deepen up that crease area a bit. And then I'm going back into that lighter matte just to help everything blend in a little bit more seamlessly. And now I'm going into Divine Rose 2, and with that same Wayne Goss brush, I'm going to dip into the deepest Aubergine shade and really use this just along the lash line area, just for some extra oomph in that region. And then cleaning off my Wayne Goss number 16, I'm going to take a tiny bit of this coral shade because I do want just like a little bit of brightness to this look as well. And I'm going to concentrate this just on the outer portion of the eyes, just so everything's not totally pinky mauve and we have a little bit of brightness as well. Now for the lids, I'm going back into Divine Rose 2, and I'm going to go in with a finger into Eleganza, which is one of my overall favorite eyeshadow shades. And I'm going to put this all over the lid. This is just such a beautiful shade. And now cleaning off that finger, I'm going into this Astral shade. I think it's Astral Pink Moon. And I'm going to use this to apply just a bit more shimmer to the center of the eye, just to add some more dimensionality there. And now just to go back into that deepest Aubergine shade, I'm going to clean up the outer corner a bit, just make sure that we still have that depth out there. And then cleaning off that brush, I'm going back into Huetopian Dream, into that coral shade, which I'm going to carefully sweep throughout the crease area. And I'm going to use this both to blend out the shimmers a bit, but also just to enhance that coral element. And with my Sonia G Mini Booster, I'm going into the Skin Show shade in Huetopian Dream, sweeping that on the inner corners. And then taking a tiny bit of that along the brow bone as well, just to provide some more light there. And for the lower lash line, I'm going to start out with my Rephr number 26 brush in this mauvey shade and sweep this along the lower lash line. And with my Sonia G Builder, I'm going into the deeper shade and concentrating that on the outer portion of the eyes. And then with that same brush, I'm going again into Eleganza and just sweeping a little bit of that along the inner portion of the lower lash line. So let me just zoom you guys in and also cut down the brightness a bit so you can see the eyeshadow look a little bit better. So overall, a pretty simple eyeshadow look, fewer shades than I typically use, but I think this will go really nice with my wedding dress. So now I'm going to go off camera and do my eyeliner and then be right back to finish off the rest of this face. So here we are with the eyeliner down, and I went in first with my ESUM dual-ended eye pencil. I put Aubergine both on the lid and also on the outer third of my lower lash line. And then I went in with the rose gold side on the inner portion of my waterline. And then I also went over that with my Illustrative brush liner from M Cosmetics in the shade Brown. This eyeliner is almost out of ink, so this is definitely not my best wing ever, but it's okay. Today is not actually my wedding day, so this will just have to do for the moment. So now let's finish off the rest of the face. So first off, I want to add a bit more bronziness. So I'm going to go in with my Gucci bronzer in the shade 2. I'm going to use my trusty Niji Pro, which is my current favorite bronzer brush. So I'm going to use this to just lightly tap on top of where I put that contour earlier, and also just all over the perimeter of my face. I really love using this bronzer on days when I'm doing a cooler toned look, especially with any sort of mauves, because I find that this bronzer is a lot more pink in undertone than some of my other bronzers, which are much more orangey. And so this just works really, really well with a cooler toned makeup look. It kind of doubles both as contour and as bronzer. Just chiseling out a little bit more of the cheek area. And then with my classic crease from Sonia G, I'm going to take a tiny bit of the bronzer and just use this as some extra nose contour as well. Now for blush, I'm going in with Divine Rose from Pat McGrath, since I love her blushes so much, so it would not be a wedding makeup look without some Pat McGrath blush thrown in. And this is also, I think, a perfect complement to this eye look. It's overall a pretty mauvey hue. And as you can tell, this is a demi-matte finish, and so it's going to bring down some of the shine that we had from the Beauty Light Wand. But my hope is that the Beauty Light Wand still kind of peeks through a little bit. And now for highlight, I have been really loving this new Pillow Talk highlighter in the Color Story Romance Light from Charlotte Tilbury. So I'm going to use these two on my cheeks, since I do want to preserve a bit of that mauviness, and this highlight does have some of that undertone as well. So I'm going to sweep that on the high points of my cheeks. And then taking one of the lighter shades, I'm going along the bridge of my nose and Cupid's bow. Just whatever's left, sweeping that a bit on the forehead. Now for the lips, I'm going to first go in with my Pillow Talk Medium Lip Cheat from Charlotte Tilbury. This is my go-to on pinky mauvey days. So normally I would just line my lips that way, but because we're going for more of a full day look, I'm going to go ahead and fill in my lips as well. I like doing this whenever I need some more longevity. And now I'm going to go in with Glowing Jen from Charlotte. This is in her Kissing formula. So there we go. That is the final makeup look. What do you guys think? So I went off camera to set my face, so here we have the final look. I went in with a few spritzes of the Glow Recipe Watermelon Mist. I used this because my face was looking a tad bit dry from the powder, and so I just wanted to first hydrate it a little bit more. And then I went with my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Spray. And so hopefully that just further melted the makeup into my skin, and now everything I think is looking a lot more hydrated. So on the whole, I'm pretty pleased with this look overall. I would say the one thing that's a little bit lacking is definitely my base. There is a bit of peeling that I've noticed on my skin. Like I said, I think that's just because I had a facial a few days ago, and so my skin itself is peeling a little bit. I don't think it's because of the makeup, but I think from this distance, the base still looks pretty good. It's just if you look super, super closely. Other than that, I think everything turned out super nicely. I feel like the cheek products all look very nicely melded into the cheeks. They really complement the eyes, and the lip also matches the overall vibe. So on the whole, I'm really pleased with the look that I came up with, and I think this really matches the colors of my dress and the overall vibe of the wedding. I'd love to hear in the comments down below what you guys think about this look. Essentially now my plan is to take a bunch of pictures of myself and share a couple of them with the makeup artist so she knows what I'm going for overall. So that's it for today's video. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I would love to hear in the comments down below if you guys are married, what you did for your bridal makeup, and if you're not married, what you think the type of vibe you'll go for is. Like I said, I've been going back and forth about these questions for the past several months, but I think I finally kind of settled down on this sort of look. So I'll have to share with you guys a picture from my actual wedding with the actual look. Hopefully I can pick up some tips from the makeup artist since I've never had a makeup artist do my makeup. But consider this a sneak peek of what it might look like. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!